Hello, thank you so much for joining today. Let's go ahead and start today's practice coming into a comfortable seated position. If you'd like that to be crisscross applesauce, that's a great option. You can always put a block or a pillow under your hips. Start to settle in here and rest your hands on your lap. Now, if crisscross applesauce is not comfortable, you're always welcome to take any other opening posture as well. You could send the legs out long. You could come down to rest on your back and construct your breast. You could even just put the feet out in front of you, bending the knees. The goal here is to get our spine straight, no matter where we're at in this present moment. And then I invite you to close your eyes or maybe simply soften your gaze so that you can start to come into this present moment internally. We'll begin to notice our breathing, not changing it in any way, just noticing how it feels, where the air enters the body and exits. Maybe the subtle movements of our rib cage or abdomen with each breath. With that same attention to detail, we'll start to turn inward to our physical sensations, scanning through the body to notice any tweaks or twinges, any aches or pains, and any sensation or lack of sensation or positive sensation that you might be feeling throughout your body today. Today, we're going to talk about authenticity. When we put ourselves fully out in the world as we really are, we get to live in our truth. I've struggled with this for many years. I was afraid of sharing parts of myself, fearing rejection. Over my mindfulness and meditation practice has allowed me to get real with myself and to honor how I actually feel in each moment. Instead of striving to feel how I think I should feel or how I thought I was supposed to feel. When we show up in the world authentically, people are moved, whether they admit it or not. Give the world the gift of being your true, authentic self. As we breathe here, we'll start to get into our breathing exercise. Breathing in and out, starting to match the length of the inhale to the length of the exhale. You're always welcome to count the inhale and the exhale, letting the function of the breath be your focus. Or you can start to feel it a little more naturally in your body, letting go of the count, but simply equaling out the inhale and the exhale as naturally as possible. Now, on this next inhale, I want you to pause at the top. Let yourself hold that air in, retain the air for as long as feels comfortable for you. You could make it match the length of your inhale or your exhale, or make it a little longer. And then exhale an equal breath. We'll continue with this equal breath with extended pause for a few rounds of our own cycles. Breathing in, holding the pause, and exhaling. Allow yourself to start to feel the rhythm of that breath. And maybe we'll end our opening grounding meditation repeating this mantra after me. It feels authentic to you today. May I honor how I actually feel today. May I no longer hide any part of myself for fear of being unlikable. May I show up authentically in my community. Beautiful job. We'll finish up this cycle of breath. You're still taking that equal breath with extended pause, finding your natural, authentic rhythm once more. Take a moment to offer ourselves just a little bit of gratitude that we took time out of our day. Slow things down, find a little bit of intentional movements. And knowing that every stretch, every pose is an opportunity to listen to that inner wisdom. And as you're ready, begin to wiggle fingers and toes, and we'll flutter the eyes open. Let's start to come over onto hands and knees. You're always welcome to bring a blanket under the knees as well. As we start to add a little bit of movement into our practice, we'll start with a nice stretch here of child's pose. You can keep the knees together or separate them or even take them as wide as your mat. You can always sit on your heels or maybe bring a prop under your hips and stretch those arms out long in front of you, sinking the forehead down towards the mat. A little or a lot. Doesn't have to make contact with anything. We're simply stretching through the side body, stretching through the shoulders, pressing into the hands, whether they're on the mat or maybe have some blocks underneath of them. Great job. With our next slow inhale, roll up through a angry cat pose into a tabletop. And then if your knees are wider than hip distance or closer together, go ahead and bring yourself into a traditional tabletop, knees about hip distance apart. From here, we're going to find a little bit of fluid movement through the spine. So we'll drop the belly and start to lift the gaze in cow pose. And we're going to find some fluid movement between those three poses we just talked about. So with our exhale, sink your hips back towards your heels, keeping your knees at hip distance as well. And then round over your spine as you tuck your forehead towards your knees. Inhale as you round up through angry cat, pressing into the hands. And then an exhale drops the belly as you begin to look up in cow. And start to find that movement a little bit more fluidly with your own breath. Matching breath to movement, rounding from the child's through cat into cow. Feel free to change it up in any way that your body wants. Maybe you want to tuck your toes. Maybe you want to bring some blocks under the hands. Feel free to play with this however you want to. All right, last breath, inhale up to tabletop. Exhale, we'll sink it back down into a child's pose, but keep it slightly lifted. Don't sink all the way down. And then begin to walk the hands either on the floor or using your blocks over towards that right side, stretching through the left side body, and then sink the forehead back down towards the mat just a little bit. Now, as we're stretching here, we're noticing the side of the body. We can stretch that left fingertip a little bit further, or even place the hand on top of the right hand. One more slow, steady breath there. Our exhale walks things through center over to the opposite side. This time, right hand takes a couple of finger walks forward, or rest on the left hand. As you sink into the side bend, noticing that opening through the rib cage. Great job. Exhale through center. Inhale to round up through your tabletop. Great job. Let's go ahead and pause here in tabletop. And then take your right arm, send it out alongside the ear. Fingers or thumb pointing up towards the ceiling. Tuck both toes. And then start to send your left leg long. You can keep the foot on the floor, or you can start to lift it up towards hip height. We're taking a spinal balance here, starting to warm up our core muscles as we reach our finger and toes in opposite direction. Great job. Go ahead and bring your hand down to the mat. And then we're going to keep the knee right where it is and the leg extended, but start to turn your toes back behind you. So we're going to come into a grounded side plank. We're going to keep the same hand that's on the floor as the knee, and then start to peel the opposite hand up towards the ceiling. Now that extended leg can always come down to the mat, or for more of a challenge, you can keep it lifted. As we stack wrist and shoulders in a straight line, we're noticing our core muscles. We're pulling the belly button towards the spine. In our next inhale, allow that top hand to start to rainbow arc overhead, really feeling that deep side bend all along the right side body, or the top side body. Great job. Exhale. Go ahead and release it through your tabletop. Take any movement you might want if you want to roll out your wrist or anything like that. And we'll set up for side two. Taking opposite hand and opposite leg, spinal balance, reaching fingers and toes away from each other. Engage your core, make sure you're not dumping into the shoulder or to the hip on either side. Pressing into the palm of the hand that's on the ground. Go ahead and bring both hands to the mat. Turn the toes behind you to start to peel the torso open for side plank. Again, extended leg can be on the ground or lifted, depending on how much challenge you want today or your energy level. We'll take one more breath here. Exhale allows us to rainbow arc through the side body. Great job. Exhale to release to a tabletop. And then from here, we're going to pull our heart forward and our belly forward, coming down into a Sphinx pose. So I want us to have our belly on the ground. You can lift your forehead and heart as much as you'd want, but go ahead and take the hands out to the side a little bit and then begin to squeeze up. Your hands can either be flat on the floor, you can have some blocks or maybe a blanket under the belly. We're squeezing our shoulders back as we lift our heart. And then exhale, lower back down to the mat. Go ahead and find some spinal movement here as you take those into rolling sphinxes. Inhaling to come up as high as feels good. And exhale to go down, really winding the spine through its back bends. The next time you're at the top of your Sphinx, go ahead and pause there. You can either stay high on the hands or maybe come down onto the elbows for this next part of the Sphinx. But we're going to drop our chin towards our right shoulder, opening up through the neck. And then come back through center. Maybe drop the chin towards the opposite shoulder. Inhale through center, lift the chin up as high as feels good. Exhale, drop your chin towards your torso. And then start to take a little bit of a circular movement through the neck in one direction, about 2 or 3 times. And then reverse it, going in the other direction, about 2 or 3 times. Beautiful. All right, after you're done with those neck circles, exhale to release. And then we'll push up to our tabletop. And then in our own time and in our own way, let's go ahead and come on up to standing. We'll come into our mountain pose. We'll take any movement we want to get us settled in. And then we're going to take a crisscross of our legs. So we're going to take the right foot, either bucking those kneecaps. Now, if your hands that can be on your hips, like I said, one could be on a prop. Maybe you start to circle your hands up and overhead, reaching them up towards the sky. Keep your eyes on something on the ground that's not moving, and that'll really help with your balance. And for more of a challenge, you can take it up to the horizon or even up towards the ceiling. All right, last breath here. Let's take our right hand down to our right hip. And then we're going to take it into a side bend over towards the right. Notice how this feels throughout the body. Our next inhale presses into our hand. We halfway lift, figure 7, and then uncross the legs. Take any movement you might want here. Exhale, hinge into your forward fold, take it a little bit deeper. Maybe grab opposite elbows and take a ragdoll. Hands can also stay where they are, but maybe still find a rock and a sway from side to side. All right, start to settle into just a little bit of stillness. Lift overhead. Great job.
Hand comes down to left hip. Lean it over to the left. Inhale back through center. Exhale, we're twisting to the right, opening the arms wide. Inhale back through center. Bring it up tall. Exhale, slow. Opposite elbow, simply grab your shirt or maybe even a strap in between the hands. But wherever we're at, we're drawing the knuckles down, we're lifting our heart up, we're squeezing those shoulder blades together, noticing how that feels in your spine. And if those shoulders are just really tight, you can always just reach those hands back behind you. All right, we'll take one last breath here. Our next exhale, we're gonna find a chair pose. So we're gonna start to bend into the knees, sink into the hips, keep your spine straight, keep your bind for one more moment. And with your exhale, I want you to maybe bringing a hand to the prop for just an added moment of support. All right, we're doing great wherever we're at, either alternating toe heels or toe stand. One last breath here. Inhale, reach it up, tall mountain. Exhale, bring it down through your prayer into a mountain pose. All righty, let's go ahead and take our mountain pose and let's take our right foot back for a warrior two. So the toes are gonna come out, we're gonna start to bend into the front knee and then take the arms nice and wide. Palms face down as we pull those fingertips out. We're squeezing our thighs together. We're engaging through our core. You're doing a beautiful job here. We're gonna take one more breath, maybe sink it a little bit deeper into that front knee if it's available. Great job. Inhale, open up to five-pointed star towards the side. And take the toes out and the heels in as you open the arms out wide. Beautiful. Next exhale, bring those hands down to your hips and start to find a gentle bend into the knees. You can find a sway a little bit from side to side or maybe some bounces. Notice how this is feeling in your body. You can go as deep or as shallow as you're feeling today. And then our next inhale opens those arms up into a cactus. Beautiful horse stance. We're doing lovely things here. Our next inhale opens us up for five-pointed star. Exhale, move toes in line with heels, and then we'll hinge into a forward fold, bringing hands down towards the mat or towards a prop. You can keep as much of a bend into the knees as you would like. Beautiful job. Our next inhale presses into the hands. We lift halfway. Arms come out to a T. We engage as we inhale, five-pointed star. Exhale, bring heels back in so toes are out. Exhale, horse stance, cactus arms. Great job. Go ahead and bring hands to heart in a prayer, to your hip, or to a prop for support. And we're going to play with those heel lifts once again. So left to right, one at a time. Or if it's part of your practice, you can do both at the same time. It's being mindful of the creaks and the cracks. You're doing great. One more on each side if you're doing alternating. Exhale, both heels down. Inhale, five-pointed star to release. Exhale, warrior two towards the front of your mat. Great job. Lift that back heel, spin your back hand forward for one high lunge, and then step the back leg. Beautiful flow today. Let's take that on the second side. So noticing how the body is feeling. We step opposite foot back, left foot back for warrior two. Feel that length and extension. Our next exhale sinks it in just a little bit deeper. Inhale, 5-pointed star to the side of your mat. Toes out, heels in. Exhale, sink it into a horse stance. Go ahead and bring your hands to interlace behind the head, letting the fingertips interlace if that feels good for your body. And otherwise, you can bring them to your shoulders if that would feel like a better option here. We're going to take some ab crunches here. So as we exhale, we're going to lean our right elbow towards our right leg, and then come back through center, and then dip it the other way. Now, if at any point these legs get too much, come out. You can continue or take a break from the ab crunch, but then join us when you're ready. We'll take it just 1 or 2 more times on each side, being mindful to go slow enough that you can feel those stretches through the sides of your rib cage. And you're not just powerhousing side crunches here. Great job. 1 more on each side. Inhale, 5-pointed star to release. Move heels in line with toes. Exhale, hinge into your forward fold. Bend the knees just a little bit deeper, about halfway down. And then inhale, straighten the legs out a little. Take that movement just 3 or 4 times, noticing how that feels. So it's almost like you're sinking your hips down into a squat, and then you're lifting it back up to halfway lift. Great job. All right, last one. Exhale to release into your forward fold. Maybe take it a little bit deeper. Maybe grab opposite elbows, let your torso hang down towards the mat. You're doing a beautiful job. Inhale, hand halfway lift. Arms come out to a T. Engage the core, 5-pointed star. Exhale, warrior 2 to the front of your mat. Our next exhale allows that back hand to sweep forward as we come onto the toes and lift that back heel for a lunge, high lunge. Maybe hands even lift, crescent lunge. Great job. Exhale to release, bring it forward. Mountain pose. All righty. We're gonna come into our mountain pose. We're gonna play with that sun salutation again. So we're gonna take that right leg right behind the left leg, crisscrossing it behind it in whatever variation we found to be most comfortable for us today. Inhale, arms come up, or one arm comes up. This time, left hand comes to left hip. Lean to the left. Inhale through center. Exhale, twist to the right, arms open wide. Inhale through center. Exhale, we hinge into a forward fold. We're going to pause here for just a moment and then begin to walk your hands either on the floor, on your legs, or on a prop over towards the left side of your space. Great job. Come through center towards the right side of your space. Inhale through center. Exhale to sink it in a little bit deeper. Pressing into the hands, we inhale, halfway lift, uncross those legs. Exhale, hinge into your forward fold. Root to rise, inhale, tall mountain. Exhale, prayer. Take the left foot behind the right and do our crisscross. You know where we're going. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, right hand to right hip. or to a prop, of course, is always a great option. And then hinge to the right. Inhale through center. Exhale, twist open arm to the left. Inhale through center. Exhale, hinge into your forward fold. Pause here for your exhale. Inhale, take it to the right. Exhale through center to the left. Inhale through center. Exhale to sink it in just a little bit deeper. Inhale, halfway lift. Sorry for that technical difficulty there. I lost internet, but we're back up and going, I think. All right, so I believe we had just come out into our mountain from our forward fold. Alrighty, from here, let's come down into a tabletop pose, coming onto hands and knees. And you're always welcome to bring a blanket under your knees or even roll up your mat to give just a little more comfort here. And then let's take our right leg and we're gonna bring it up into a lizard lunge. Now you can always bring some blocks under your hands to make a little more space for your body. Now, as we set up in our lizard lunge, you can take that back knee back a little bit. You can keep those toes tucked or untucked. And for a little more engagement, you can just lift that knee right up off the mat, wherever you're feeling like you're at today. Now, as we sink into this front knee, it's at a bit of an angle out towards the side. The toes are pointing out, and you can stay on the sole of the foot, or you can start to let that knee rock out to the side, onto the side of the foot. You could stay high on the hands, or if you want to come down into a resting lizard and bring your elbows to the blocks or to the floor, you're always welcome to do that as well. So finding this nice lizard stretch through the hips that feels perfect for your body today. We'll take one more breath there. You came down onto elbows, go ahead and come back onto hands. If you roll to the side of the foot, bring the knee back in towards center line, and then shift the hips back, straightening through that front leg, maybe even peel those toes back. Great job. Step it back into tabletop. Taking it side two, left leg comes up. We find our lizard lunge, making any adjustments for this side as necessary. Sinking hips in, maybe rolling to the side of the foot, coming down onto elbows. Any options for you here as you take just a few breaths, sinking and settling back in. Came down to elbows, go ahead and start to come back up onto hands. Roll to the flat part of the foot, letting the knee come back towards center. Shift the hips back, maybe peel the toe up for a half runner stretch. And then bring it back through your tabletop. Alrighty, if we have blocks under our hands, we're gonna keep them there. If we don't have to have them there, but we're gonna start to take a puppy pose. So we're gonna come down onto our elbows, either on the blocks or on the floor. Now you can bring your hands together for a prayer pose, interlacing the fingers, or you can just keep them separate if that feels better for you in parallel. We'll begin to walk the knees back as we come into a puppy pose. We sink the forehead down towards the floor. There's a little bit more of a dangle with the arms not directly on the floor. So maybe enjoying how that feels, if that feels good in your body. Stretching through the inner arms. The hips stay high. We're not sinking into a child's pose. Great. One more breath in your puppy pose. And then let's inhale to find our way onto our seated position. We're going to take one last core exercise, rounding out that work we've been doing. So we're going to bring our feet in front of us, about hip distance apart. We're going to lift the toes up. We're going to bring our spine straight, looking straight ahead. And you can either hold on to your legs here or start to send your arms out parallel to the floor. We're going to inhale, and we're going to go from either heels on the floor or heels lifted, depending on which boat variation feels better for us. And we're going to come into a low boat position on our exhale, extending almost out. Now, if you're doing it with heels on the floor, you're going to slide your heels out and really engage your core as you lean almost back, but not all the way, and then bring it back up. If you're taking it with heels off the floor, you'll go like you're almost laying down and then bring it back up. All right, take that 2 more times, going as slow as you can. So the faster you go, the easier it is. So see if you can take it slow. Great job. All right, one more time. Great job. Our exhale releases us to a ball shape, rolling knees into our torso. And feel free to take a rock from side to side or maybe rest in stillness. You could also rock along the spine or take any other movement that your body is calling. All righty. Now let's go ahead and bring our hips as close to a wall or a piece of furniture in our space that we have. So we can start to take our legs in a legs up the wall position. Now you can always keep them straight up if that feels good for you, but maybe explore opening the legs a little wider. You can keep the legs straight, or you can even bring a bend to the knees and the soles of the feet onto the wall. If you're using maybe a bed or a couch, you could also just rest your legs at a bent position on that. The goal really is to get the feet a little higher than the heart and maybe get a little opening stretch through the straddle hip muscles, those horse stance counter stretch here. And it can be as wide as you want or as shallow as you want. Maybe you start to add a pillow under the back of the neck or a blanket on the tummy. Making sure the chin is tucked just enough to lengthen the back of the neck along the floor. Both shoulders pressing in firmly. Maybe you take a few long, deep, slow breaths. Maybe you even come back into that equal breath with the extended pause at the top. Beautiful job. Now you're welcome to just stay here and enjoy this lovely pose, or maybe bring a bend into the knees so that the soles of the feet come onto the wall or piece of furniture, and then start to walk them down towards the floor, taking it into a twist towards one side or the other. You can send your arms out to a cactus or T. Inhale as you start to make the legs to the other side, taking your twist in the other direction. Great job. Our next exhale releases us to our final resting pose. Now, as always, you would come back up into that legs up a wall if you're really enjoying it, or you can move yourself to your mat. You can take a corpse pose or a constructive rest, or really any other resting pose that feels good for you. You could add things like props, pillows, blocks, sweaters, or socks. Take any movements and make any adjustments so that you can start to relax on command. Maybe you close your eyes. Maybe you simply allow your eyelids to grow heavier, blurring your vision. Arriving here in this space today. You're taking that equal breath with pause extended. Go ahead and release it. Finding your natural, authentic breath. Don't change it in any way. With your next 3 exhales, you imagine your muscles unwinding, tension releasing, maybe even dripping into the mat beneath you. Authenticity can be scary, but it's always worth it. There is so much pressure to conform, to fit molds. We can be really hard on ourselves. Sometimes even hard on ourselves for simply not knowing all the answers. We don't always trust our intuition when we should. We doubt ourselves, trying to fit those molds. But do those molds really fit anybody? Today, let's take a step back. And we'll tell ourselves that while we can always learn from others' decisions and choices, and even experiences, that you are building your own path. To be your best self, you have to show up as your full self. You have to do it your way. Choosing the path of authenticity. In some ways, this can be scarier than being like everyone else. Because being authentic takes courage. It means putting your full self out there for the world every single day. It means taking a path that might look different from others, but fully having faith that it is meant just for you. Authenticity is something we all have the power to choose.
every single day. And today, our guided meditation will help us explore what authenticity looks and feels like for us today, in this moment. So let's take a few more deep breaths, settling even deeper into our space. Notice any remaining areas of tension, clenching. See if you can let that go. Beautiful job. Authenticity means aligning our actions with our values. You can think of it as dancing with your true self. To start, let's reflect on some of the values that you hold close. Take a moment and see what comes up. Some examples for me are creativity or compassion, kindness, honesty, connection. Maybe some of those values feel true for you as well. And maybe there are others. But I'll give you a breath or two to simply allow the values that mean the most to you to speak to you now. Whether you realize it or not, you're already showing that you can have the courage to live those values. It happens in big and small ways. And I want you to notice that courage within yourself. So now I want you to think of a time recently when those values came to life. Maybe creativity came to life when you made a new thing to eat that you've never done before. Or compassion when you showed up for someone in need. Maybe honesty when you initiated a tough conversation. Or honesty and connection when you made an effort to reach out to someone far away. Take the next few moments as you go through those core values that came to you. And find some examples of when you brought them to life. Again, they don't have to be big moments. Authenticity often happens in small moments as well. Beautiful job. Now, lastly, I want us to focus on just one of these values. And think of some ways that you can lead with that value over the week to come. What small or big ways and steps can you take to authentically live that value. I'll give you a final moment to reflect. Amazing work today. Authenticity takes courage, but trust that you have it within you. You've shown it in the past, and you can call on it. Heart space, the space where your truest self resides, your most authentic. And maybe choosing to repeat after me, ending our class together with mantra. I choose authenticity. I choose authenticity. We'll take one final, deepest breath of the day so far. Breath together. Your truest self is a gift to the world. Let it shine today. We'll gently start to bring our awareness back into this present moment. We'll begin to wiggle fingers and toes, maybe even taking a stretch. And then when you're ready, flutter the eyes open. And we'll return to an upright position in your own time, in your own way, facing me. Thank you so much for joining today. I hope you have a great week ahead of you, and that you have time to connect with your authentic self. Thank you so much. Until next time.